KPFT FM HD2 Houston.
KPFT.
I'm heading down, yes, I'm southward bound to somewhere that I know to be, full of music and sound and artists all around, painting a better world for you and me, where the fields are green and the air is always clean, and there is no more suffering or sorrow. Now it's finally time to leave these cruel days behind and build a kind of world for our tomorrows. Would you make the smallest of changes if it could save the life of another? Whether skin or feather, we stick together and learn that we are all parts of each other. There's no need for cages because everyone is free, and compassion is the currency here in Kindness Town. We were all born the same, we all know love, we all know pain. Then someone drew a line of separation. There's no difference between the smallest bird, the tallest tree. We are all a part of one creation. Would you make the smallest of changes if it could save the life of another? Whether skin or feather, we stick together and learn that we are all parts of each other. If you want to make a difference, all you need is to believe that we can save the world with empathy here in Kindness Town. I've been dreaming of brighter days where we pave the way together stone by stone. If there's ever a storm ahead, no, you'll never have to face it on your own. Would you make the smallest of changes if it could save the life of another? Whether skin or feather, we stick together and see how we are all parts of each other. If you want to put an end to all this needless cruelty, let your heart become a sanctuary and call it kindness, call it kindness, call it Kindness Town.
Welcome to Vegan World Radio. We'll be your host tonight. My name's Skyjack Morgan.
And I'm Dr. Crystal Heath. I am
Tonight we're-
happy to join the Leguminati
The Leguminati, here we are.
radio.
I like it. Stay with us for the hour, please. We're here on Pacifica's KPFT 90.1 FM in Houston. That music was by my friend Chris over at, his name is Sweet Goose is his artist name, but he worked with us on this project called Kindness Town, which
That's
is
the new song of the summer. That's
It's
a
the-
bop right there. Like
it's a I think it's so important to
next Super Bowl halftime show is going to be that bop. I guarantee you.
Wouldn't that
Like,
be
let's-
great?
Let's make it take over. Let's
I would
do
like
it.
I would like the football to be made out of a synthetic material instead of a cow's skin. That
They
would be
still
really
do that?
Yes, almost every
Oh, my
American
God.
sport. The tennis balls are made out of wool. The baseball's made out of leather. So is the cowhide on a. It's not actually pigskin. Pigskin was the bladder on the inside. That's been replaced by rubber. There's no pig involved anymore, but the outside is still cow's hide. And basketballs too. NBA basketball is also leather. Crazy, right? It seems weird since European soccer, that's all synthetic now because it's a more reliable, predictable material by which, if you want balls to react the same way every time, you make them out of synthetic.
Yeah. Synthetic balls is the future.
Synthetic balls of the future. It has nothing to do with the fact that microplastics are coursing through my veins right now.
I mean, yeah.
Because that's also right. Microplastics are in all of us, but we're talking about sports balls here. And let me tell you, they should be made out of synthetics, not animal hide. Anyway, Kindness Town. So it's been on my mind, Crystal, because I went to WonderCon this weekend, which is it's a convention, almost like a Comic-Con that you've seen on TV.
For Wonder Bread?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
No, it's for any kind of fandom you can imagine, and but also the Los Angeles Children's Film Festival was going on, and that's why I was there, because our film Kindness Town, which is a film about feathers actually, and their use in fashion and entertainment, and we saw that it was a lot of movies, right? We sat through a lot of films. And man, people got it right away. People applauded in all the right spots. They got all the jokes, the vegan jokes. People empathize with the puppets. It's a puppet show, and if anybody's curious, you could watch it on YouTube. Kindness Town is up there. We only have one episode. It's fantastic. The music is wonderful. Jess McKay is the one who did the puppets, and then we got up and did the Q&A, and we had vegan questions, and they were asking us, how did you find other vegan people to do this puppet show with, and how did you find people to care about this? And it was really cool. And I said, well, you start doing stuff, you start working, all of a sudden you'll find your tribe. It's incredible. People will. Yeah.
You find your people when you start doing what you love.
What do you know? What do you know? Have you seen? Did you watch? You've seen Kindness Town, haven't you?
Yes, it was great, and it would be so great to see the reaction of a normie audience to it, and to see how receptive they were to that. That would have been really cool.
It was at the International Vegan Film Festival. It was screened here in LA. Well, it's not LA, it's Anaheim, but it was the first time I was in a public setting and getting that reaction of others. And let me tell you, it was exhilarating, because there's some jokes that you don't know if it's going to hit, right? Because it's a non-vegan audience, and they got it right away. And also at the end, there's a kind of a coda where it says this film's dedicated to all the animals who died making Big Bird and the Muppets and Fraggle Rock, and basically most of the Jim Henson. Jim Henson's style uses a lot of feathers, and Big Bird alone over the years has resulted in thousands of deaths. And when it came up, people gasped and went, "Oh, yeah!" They all made that kind of lamentation, and
that just shows us we just have to tell people. That's all.
That's all it takes.
Have to do.
I think, I found it exhilarating, and then as I left, one of the audience members said, "I'm Flexitarian," and of course, immediately I was crestfallen. And luckily, because I've got my outreach.
Were they
style
proud of their ability to,
yes.
Make it change a little bit, towards the right direction. Yeah,
whatever that means. What's a flexitarian?
They're not one of us.
Yes.
Yet. But
not one of us.
I mean, they're getting there. And
is that what it is?
It reminds me of that one story a friend told me of. She worked for a veterinarian who was vegan, and she was very proud because she was vegetarian, and she's eating her cow's milk based yogurt and saying, "Oh, you're a vegan, that's so cool. I'm vegetarian, like I'm one of you." But the look on her face was clear, like, yeah, not quite there yet. And that's sometimes it just takes a little look, like, oh yeah, you're a white belt, I'm a black belt. Like,
that's what it feels like. Yeah, I mean, I was called black belt vegan is when you're actually, have all the philosophical arguments down and everything. We've all been a white belt before, I suppose, and I try not to look too unkindly on people who are on the path or whatever. But I also have been known to say the wrong things and make people cry. So luckily,
me too, same.
Yeah. So luckily there were others there. I think that you'd be better at than I, because when someone comes up and tells me they're flexitarian, I'm not. Yeah, I think if you had been there, I think you would have been able to talk with the lady. Luckily, there were other vegans there who were. Oh yeah, and guess what? It ended up working out great because that person was very moved by the film, and she had something, hundreds of thousands of subscribers on Instagram or something, and then shared it and said how much she loved Kindness Town. And yeah, I'm making up the numbers, but it was a lot. I was told later that she had a ton of subscribers or whatever. So, because I kept my mouth shut, I guess, and let other people be the nice guys, it was,
sometimes it's best not to create this us versus them mentality and have this moral superiority over people just because, we are.
Guess is it moral superiority that I was feeling, you think? You think that
yeah, a little bit. She's not as good as you with your...
you think that's what I was... I think I would just... No, I was a bit more frustrated with the pride someone might feel being something called a flexitarian. I understand that there are people who are flexitarian because of... I'm frustrated by the pride that she was beaming with more than feeling that I was better.
She didn't earn it.
I don't know. It just seems so weird. It's like, ugh, I don't know. I guess I haven't been as introspective about this as I thought, because immediately thereafter, not immediately, but then later I was at a protest, a pro-democracy protest, and somebody had cookies, and they said, would you like some cookies? And I was wearing my Vegan World Radio shirt that was sent because of a donation of $100. That was pretty cool. Like if you donate $100 to the station and you tell them that you want a shirt, they'll send you one. That's pretty nice. You get a gift. So I was wearing my shirt to the protest because I always wear vegan stuff when I go to non-vegan protests. Now that is moral superiority.
Is it? I'm embracing my moral averageness, and I think everybody should embrace their moral averageness. We are all just morally average. Nobody is superior over anybody else. That's my philosophy. But that doesn't mean we cannot be countervailing forces for good and encourage people to work for change.
Yeah. I think you're right. Let me give me your grade on this. Okay, so then she was a younger woman again, probably around the same age as the woman that I'd met at the festival, and she said cookies, and they looked perfectly fine, sprinkles, and I pointed to my shirt, my Vegan World Radio shirt, and it said vegan, and she goes, oh, and she knew exactly what I didn't even say anything, and she goes, well, I'm vegetarian, beaming with pride. And
she's just trying to find some connection with you.
I know.
And then you're like, you don't deserve that pride.
Well, let me tell you what I said before you throw me to the wolves. All right. So before you rake me over the coals. So I said to her, that's great. Please stop hurting chickens.
Oh. And how did she take that?
I don't know. We were marching, and that we were.
She punched you in the face, and you don't remember her.
No, then it was like, hey, ho, ho. Political stuff that I don't want to say right now. That was like that. And so, because it wasn't an animal rights thing, I don't want to mix politics and animal rights too much when it comes to the current. It was an anti-administration stuff, So it was. I don't know. What do you think? Please stop hurting chickens. Do you think it's not? I didn't scold her.
I would just say, like, hey, good for you. I know it's hard, in this society, in this world. Of course, you have like 2 seconds, and I would be like, what would be the hardest part about giving up eggs? what's the hardest part about giving up milk? Something like that. Like,
That's good. What
you
would
know,
It's funny because when I would do outreach with PETA, I would say, I got this from David Rams. I would say, what would you need today? If you were going vegan tomorrow, what would you need today?
mhm.
And I thought that was always a good one. But I
Yeah,
wasn't
that's a
doing
good one.
outreach. It was more like I was
Yeah.
kind of ambushed with cookies. I was at a
Mhm.
cookie ambush. And
Yeah.
you know how I feel about Cookie Monster and the Muppets and everything and all their abuse of animals.
What if it's the CIA trying to poison you at that
Could have
rally?
been,
There's
don't
that.
accept cookies
Don't
from young
trust
women.
no one.
That's a good point. No, I'm not that paranoid yet, but
I am.
you are. But Kindness Town was so great. It was wonderful to see it on the screen. And people, well, can I show it at my elementary school? And we said, yeah, it's on YouTube. Show it at your elementary school. It's great. It's kid friendly. There's a part in there about you should do your own research as a joke. Don't you remember our vaccine episode? And it got a huge laugh at the audience. People got it. People understood. Like, it's not don't do your own. It says doing your own research is dangerous because she's watching footage of feathers being plucked out of her friends. You don't see it. It's made for kids. You don't see it, but you could see her reaction, the puppet. And he says it's dangerous to do your own research. Don't you remember what happened with the vaccine episode? And it got a huge laugh. It seems like vaccines are still in the news. People love it. People have
Yeah.
a good sense of humor when it comes to vaccines.
Well, that's great. Sounds like a good success. And
Yes.
I hope to see a lot more from Kindness Town in the future. Maybe another
Yeah.
episode.
I hope so. And people can go to bigbirdisdead.org and sign a petition to let the Jim Henson Company know that you don't want them using animals in their puppetry anymore. You'd be surprised how many animals die because of it. And there's a way that you can make a difference. That's the end of this. That's the golden lining there. There's something you can do. And there's lots of things like that happening right now. There's like an anti-declaw ban going on in California right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one thing we can all agree on is cats should keep their claws.
Yeah,
It's outrageous that we
exactly.
still declaw cats in this day and age.
In this world where no one can agree on anything, we could all agree that cats born with claws should have them.
Yeah. And surprisingly, even though the vast majority of veterinarians are against declawing and support declaw bans, and now we have decades of evidence showing that declaw bans successfully protect cats, veterinarians, and the general public, because veterinarians, if there's no declaw ban in place, often get bullied by clients and their bosses into performing these declaw procedures that involves cutting off the first digit of their cat's toes, to protect furniture or
Wait a second. Hold on a second,
things like
doctor.
that. Mhm.
Hold on a second, doctor. I've seen cats. They just. I've been around cats. I'm an American, and I've seen them. I thought they just cut their toenails off. What do you mean they cut their knuckles off? What are you talking about?
Yeah,
They
that's what I mean. Yeah, trimming their nails, that's perfectly normal and healthy, but if you want to remove the claw completely so you never have to trim their nails and they never can scratch anything, then you declaw them. You remove that first bone in their claw. And it's been banned in municipalities all over, including Los Angeles, San Francisco, different states have banned it as well. New York, Maryland, Massachusetts. In California, many veterinarians have joined together to try to ban it in California. We've spent years doing this, and this is like the 7th or 8th time we've tried. Every time, our Veterinary Medical Association, the California Veterinary Medical Association, stops the ban, and it's led by this guy who's not even a veterinarian, who's in charge of the CVMA, and
the CVMA is the California Veterinary Medical Association.
Yeah, this small group of people who are in charge of the CVMA, which supposedly represents all California veterinarians, but it doesn't represent our interests.
Represents. That happens a lot lately. We keep on getting people representing us that don't necessarily represent us. It just seems to be the de rigueur of America.
I
these
mean,
days.
the American Association of Feline Practitioners found that most of the 1,200 veterinarians they surveyed support bans on declawing. And so, but these VMAs go against us and they say that no, we have to protect the veterinarian's right to perform declawing. And they always cite, like, we don't want older people who are on blood thinners or who are immunocompromised to have to give up their cats. But
That's ridiculous.
it's ridiculous because the NIH, the CDC, the US Public Health Service, the Infectious Diseases Society of America, Canadian Medical Association all state explicitly that declawing is not advised even for the animals of persons who are severely immunocompromised, including those with HIV. And especially given that cats who are declawed develop behavioral problems like biting. So once your declawed cat starts biting, are you now going to remove their teeth?
Well, I mean, we remove pigs' teeth because they bite each other in intensive farming situations. I mean, what's next? I mean, it's just so grotesque what we're doing to it. Imagine my parents just didn't want to deal with my fingernails and they just cut off the tips of my fingers. Like, it's that first knuckle. Have you ever had to sit through a declaw as a veterinarian? Have you ever had to see it?
I did. I used to work for a vet who did declawing, and I sat through one, and I saw the cat was horribly in pain afterwards. And
because they wake up, and it's got to be your fingers are gone. The cat's fingers are gone.
Yeah, it's awful. It's really gross.
So at the end, is there just a little bucket of 5 little knuckles?
Yeah, or, they're just left. There's 10. If you
right,
do
there's 10. Of course there are. I was an English major, not a math major.
Yeah, the first. So it's awful. Yeah, it's gross, and their claws are all bandaged up, but they say, like, no, we do it in a pain-free way. The cats are doped up on all of these pain medications.
That's what the dentist
says. Even if that was true, even if you could do this procedure and there would be no pain associated with the procedure at all, these cats.
It's still a mutilation without consent. I mean, the animal doesn't consent to having his fingers ripped off.
Yeah, they can develop painful neuromas. They have back pain. They end up avoiding using the litter box. So yeah, it shouldn't be done. It should definitely be banned. And I think we should all join together to.
So how does this work? How can someone get involved and get it banned? How do we make sure it's not that we don't have to go through 10 more of these and we can finally get this thing?
If you know any veterinarians in California, like, definitely reach out to them and let them know about this, because I think veterinarians' voices matter more than anybody else. But if you know of anybody else in California,
they don't matter more. They just have a bit of a gravitas to them. There's a little bit of a yes.
and encourage veterinarians to reach out to the CVMA to have them change their position on this too. And anyone in California can also contact their assembly person and voice their concerns. It usually doesn't work to have a bunch of people from out of state or out of town contact these assembly people or these state senators, because then it just looks like an AstroTurf campaign. But I think, really getting more veterinarians to talk about this is what's needed. And if you wanted to find out more, you can go to ouronor.org, the blog there. They have a letter that you can sign on to too.
Yeah, and I think that once that legislation is written, well, you can read the legislation, which is great, the bill that they're arguing about, and you can actually send that to no matter where you live in America, you can send that to your assembly person and say you'd like to see similar legislation. That's how they do it. They don't write this stuff from scratch. They're just like anybody. They're stealing everyone else's homework. And California didn't write this by themselves. They created a pastiche from other legislation that got through, and they write a bill that they hope might pass. Same thing if you're living in Houston area, you can send your legislator send them the bill. Say you'd like to see something similar. That's how democracy is it's a participatory sport. You're not a spectator. You're a participant.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I hope it does. I've met cats that have either had bandaging, and I've met cats that didn't have their fingers anymore, and they still swat it. They swat and they try to use their hands, and it is kind of heartbreaking.
Mm-hmm.
At least I
Yeah.
think so. I don't think I don't think anyone should be mutilating anybody. That's just my
Yeah.
my
And
my
let
radical idea.
cats keep their claws. For
Yeah,
sure.
let cats keep their claws. Cats are like something like 82% fatality rate when it comes to bird flu, right? Something like that. Cats are
Mm.
having a bad time. Maybe the bird flu it kills cats faster than I think anybody else for some reason. I don't
Yeah,
really
and cats
understand
have
that.
gotten it from commercial raw pet foods and commercial
Mhm.
raw milk. So definitely avoid feeding cats any of those commercial raw diets because they have been implicated in killing cats with bird flu. Um,
And I keep on hearing how no humans have gotten bird flu from eggs or dairy, but the cats have. No humans have got them from eating flesh, but the cats have, and they're dying like wildly. The virus is wildly effective at killing cats.
yep.
Um, it's remarkable. And there was just this article about cows. The new study in Missouri, the H5N1. They were looking for H5N1, right? Because there haven't been any cases down there, but they found other stuff. I don't know. Can you tell me about that, doctor?
So no, they surveyed a bunch of different dairy herds
Yeah.
and 586 out of the 1,724 samples, or 33.9% of those tested, which were dairy cows and beef cows in 10
Hmm.
different states,
Oh.
were seropositive for influenza viruses. Now, these are the human seasonal flu viruses H1N1, H3N2, and swine flu viruses H3N2 and H1N2, but these were not H5N1. And that's because even though it was in 10 states, the
Hmm.
vast majority of the samples that they tested were in Missouri, which didn't have
Mm.
any H5N1. But this is still a really kind of groundbreaking study because they kind of really brought to light that cows get a variety of different influenza viruses and even have gotten antibodies to the human seasonal flu
Which means
virus
that they got the human seasonal flu from somebody, right? Like the cows got it from some. I mean, they've got the antibody for the human flu. That's
from dairy workers or
yeah.
farm workers. And what we're wondering now is, can cows give the human seasonal flu back to those workers? Like, could we get human flu from dairy cows? Because we know that the influenza virus replicates in high concentrations in the mammary glands of especially
Yes.
dairy cows.
Yeah.
And in the milking parlor, you have aerosolized influenza virus, aerosolized milk. And in that
Mm-hmm.
milk, the aerosolized influenza virus, if the dairy workers were to get that in their eyes, in their nose, touch their eyes after touching the milk, could they potentially get the human seasonal flu? I think that's a big question. And it's really, really fascinating.
It's fascinating, and of course, this article has this study, I should say, has kind of made its rounds now. I keep on finding my algorithm shows me this type of stuff all the time, at least, and people are saying, well, why is America getting hit by bird flu unlike every other country? And one of the reasons is the migratory birds, right? We could see that. That's pretty no brainer. Like, we have migratory birds that go right over our big herds and our flocks.
Yeah. And we have
But
the biggest herds, and our cows produce way more milk than other
that's the
countries'
other
cows.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the other thing is, like, yeah, we do have a lot of wild birds, but we also are the only ones with this many cows, keeping them in this close proximity on so few pieces of land. so as time has gone by in the last 50 years, the number of facilities has actually shrunk, but the number of cows on those facilities has skyrocketed, and the number of companies farming these animals has shrunk, but the number of animals they're farming has gone way up, or producing has gone way up. So no other country does it this way. And it's like that's the only thing that we're doing differently. It's got to be the cows. They're fighting. When we went to the veterinary medical, what was it, VMX, Veterinary Medicine Exchange?
Expo. Veterinary
right.
Meeting Expo is
Veterinary,
what VMX stands for.
So we went to VMX, and it was the largest veterinarian conference in the world, or America at least, probably the world. And the talk, they were saying that the mammary glands of the bovine and the way we've bred them to have these giant mammaries, that's where the virus kind of lives the best, or something. The virus just loves being in there.
Yeah, it replicates in high concentrations there. Yeah,
replicates in high concentrations in the mammaries of cows, of Holsteins, and that's the only breed of cow I know that gives milk in America.
And Jerseys are huge
right.
in the Central Valley of California. Yeah.
Jerseys too. You're right. I mean,
brown Swiss is another one, less common.
I don't know my breeds as well as I should, but okay. So if we know this, and then we know that they, after this study, that they get human flu in their mammaries, and they've got all these other flus and viruses, it's just a disaster waiting to happen. You know, RFK Jr. is saying that chickens, if we vaccinate them, that they'll become mutation factories. Dude, bro, we have a mutation factory. It's called the cow.
Yeah, and I think it makes more sense to vaccinate cows for these influenza viruses.
Ooh.
Whether or not that makes them mutation factories, I think, they're already that's already the case, as long as they're like living. We're not culling them, because they have influenza. So it's a different situation.
Yeah.
I saw this article from John Corsland, who used to work for the USDA, where he was criticizing RFK's idea that poultry vaccines mean that we'll have mutation factories. I mean, it's a tough situation, because stamping out, which is mass exterminating these birds in order to help stop the spread, hasn't worked. But
let's back up a second, because like the reason why we're even talking about this is because up until now that's been the thing, right? We have any ailment. Right now it's bird flu, but any kind of really highly infectious disease enters the flock, they're genetically almost identical, because that's how we want them to be. We want them to be all the same size, all the same. We want them to be as similar as possible. So when the disease gets in there, it rips through them so quickly. It's better to stamp them out so they don't go to others. So that's been the conventional wisdom, right? Like, kill them all right now so that we don't infect other production facilities.
But we just saw, there was one article where there's producers who still aren't alerting the USDA that their flocks are infected. They just want to keep it quiet, let the avian flu run through there. They don't want to be locked down in quarantine. They don't want the bailout money. And I'm curious how many of poultry producers are actually doing that, are not alerting the USDA when their flocks get sick because they don't want to go through quarantine. They're just going to deal with it themselves. What does that look like? Of course, there's the argument that if you do just let her rip,
which is the new thing, right? RFK, new sheriff's in town. He wants to just let them rip and
let the genetically strong ones survive. Some
Brooke
argue
Rollins
that
how do the genetically strong ones survive if they're all identical?
That's the question. Like, there obviously is some genetic diversity, even though they're all very genetically similar. How is this going to end up working out? We've been told that, bird flu is 100% fatal. in these factory farms. Of course, we know sanctuaries where birds are able to survive even if
Some
they're
of them
sick.
make it.
But now hearing from some producers who are like, yeah, no, we're not alerting the USDA to our infected flocks. How is that working out for you? Like, there's a lot we don't know, but it's interesting that Rollins responded to RFK's statement about vaccinating poultry and saying that she agrees with his approach.
Yeah.
But she herself has rolled out a 5-point plan that includes investing $100 million into vaccine research.
Yeah. Yeah. And we already have thrown a lot of money at vaccine research for this problem. So this is the new layout. There's been millions spent already. We do have some vaccines against this. We have some antivirals, and they don't like to use them because they're afraid that might make us more susceptible, make humans more susceptible to them. So it's a difficult one for a vegan because, of course, I'm against the mass extermination, but I'm also against them letting the viruses rip through these mega.
Yeah. And all of this conversation is happening about like letting it rip, but we should also be talking about the most common method of depopulation that is being used right now is ventilation shutdown plus, where they seal up barns, pump in heat, and wait for the birds inside to die. And we should be talking about, well, if we are going to kill them in mass, like at least maybe use less cruel methods like high expansion nitrogen foam. But that conversation isn't even being had right now because it's all about, do we let her rip or do we not?
It's weird. They've hijacked the conversation because before it was, hey, let's use a different form of depopulation because ventilation shutdown is so grisly. Well, at least some people were, right? I mean, not enough. Ventilation shutdown is such a grisly solution, and we were saying, well, let's use a nitrogen, high expansion nitrogen foam. But now it's all about safe perimeters and letting her rip. There's a wonderful article on factcheck.org about it by Kate Yandel, who goes through each one of his points and all the things that RFK and Brooke Rollins have said. And basically at the end, I mean, it's really interesting. I can't go over it in the hour that we have in the show, but at the end of the day, they're saying it's very risky what you're talking about. It's extremely risky that, yes, culling hasn't worked, but what you're talking about is very risky business. So where does that leave us?
But risky for who? Could it potentially be devastating to the industry? I mean, would this be the kind of chaos we'd hope for? To like maybe this might lead to
higher egg prices.
Bakeries deciding to remove eggs from their products. McDonald's replacing the egg McMuffin with a tofu McMuffin or something like that.
Maybe.
Could that be the future? That because I know in California there's still a lot of egg facilities that are still empty. So maybe
they're just empty because they can't.
This is the motivation for that switch that we need.
It's a fascinating idea. Should we be investing in mung bean futures because of Just Egg using mung bean as their main ingredient? We should all be investing in mung bean farming. Maybe that will be the great, everyone wanted to take chicken farms and turn them into mushroom farms. Maybe we had it wrong the whole time. Take egg production facilities and turn them into mung bean farms in the Central Valley. Do you think, let me ask you this is just a hypothetical. Because I've always felt that McDonald's, this is my theory, this is total tinfoil hat, okay? Just bear with me. Since places like Chick-fil-A and McDonald's, they put stuff in their food already that no one seems to care. They're already putting soy and sometimes sawdust and tons of MSG, lots of additives to what people call burgers and chicken sandwiches. It isn't actually this 100% grade A beef or a 100% chicken fillet or whatever. They're already kind of sneaking stuff in. So I've always felt that what's probably going to happen is as the cost of flesh rises, that McDonald's is just going to start mixing in Beyond Meat, or mixing in a Beyond Meat style thing that they develop with the flesh so that it's like a 50-50 burger patty, and that the consumer would never even know. And why tell them? They don't seem to mind. It's kind of like when, people feed pigs plastic. It's legal to feed pigs plastic in America, and the pig doesn't know because the pig's just eating slop. He doesn't know. You grind it all up. Pig doesn't know he's eating plastic. And I don't think most people know what they're eating when they eat at McDonald's. So the Egg McMuffin, if they just replaced it with mung bean, just egg, would anyone even know? Do you think they'd bother telling anybody?
I don't think they know. Like, you can't tell the Pete's
no, you can't tell.
Plant-based
yeah.
thing tastes just like a regular egg thing.
Yeah. The first time I had it, I went, "Are you sure?"
Yeah.
This is too close, man.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of vegans listening could probably feel the same way. They like, wait a second, are you sure this is vegan? How many times? The first time I had a Beyond Meat, I was like, my stomach kind of reacted. I thought, oh my God, did I just bite into a flesh burger? So maybe there's no such. Maybe they're not going to do tofu McMuffin. I guess they'll just call it Egg McMuffin. Still, it just won't be from a chicken.
Yeah, I think that's the future, and nobody would notice, and nobody would care.
The consumer wouldn't notice, and no one would care. Yeah, I think that's exactly what McDonald's will do. They'll just pull a fast one, and by the time we figure it out, it'll be like.
We're addicted to it anyway. We don't care. We're gonna buy it.
Yeah.
No
It'll be like the cigarette companies knowing that it caused cancer the whole time. Yeah, we knew it, but we just didn't tell anybody. We just
and just like the pink sludge,
yes,
thing. Like, people still love the chicken McNuggets. So
that pink slime is in the news because we were looking at that article in the Atlantic. And they said that dried meat sticks are the fastest growing snack. And that's just pink slime. That's mechanically separated meat, or MSC or MSP, mechanically separated pork or chicken, usually multi-species that they put into these tubes like a Slim Jim. But
that article also says fast food chains, including McDonald's and Carl's Jr.'s, have ditched their alternative meat options.
Yeah.
So it seems like maybe our idea that are they going to replace these things with plant-based options? Maybe that's just bad marketing. Maybe people don't want to make that conscious decision. But if McDonald's or Carl's Jr. just made it for them, made that substitution, people wouldn't change.
Maybe I think about those alternatives. I think were just there so that they could crush vegan businesses. Like, do you remember back in like the 90s, people wanted to have healthier burgers, and McDonald's introduced a healthy option, whatever, with lots of vegetables or something. And as soon as they got rid of those healthy fast food chains that were propping up, and they had to go out of business, they just discontinued that product.
Really? Is that what happened?
Yeah, they don't have them anymore. Yeah.
There were healthy fast food chains. I don't remember those.
There were healthy fast food chains, kind of like what Sweet Greens is today, and there were like little ones popping up, and McDonald's started doing like healthy option commercials and stuff. I want to say like maybe Beyonce was I forget, someone famous was doing the ads for it and everything.
I don't know. There's still like Kava, and there's still like Jamba Juice. So
Jamba Juice is still around, but not like it was. And so I guess, yeah, there's still those places. But, man, do you remember just a few years ago there were a bunch of vegan fast food places popping up, and some of them were right next door to McDonald's. And all of a sudden, McDonald's has a Beyond. Well, not McDonald's, but, Carl's Jr. has the Beyond, or Burger King has a Impossible, whatever they did, Impossible Whopper. And now they're all out of business, and they're like, "Oh, we're going to discontinue with this. No one wants this anymore."
Interesting.
What? I mean,
clearly not enough people bought it, or else they would still be selling it, right?
Not if it's too much of a pain in the butt. Like, having been in the restaurant business for a long time, sometimes you have sometimes you have a thing that is selling, and you can either crank the price so that people buy less of it, or you can just take it off the menu because it's a pain in the butt. It's taking up space in your freezer. You got to train people on how to do it. There's a lot of complaints that come because people get the wrong. They get the regular taco meat they get the flesh instead of the Beyond at Del Taco or Taco Bell. You don't want the headache, so you just discontinue it, right? Like, it's not just based on how much is demanded. I don't think something can stay on the menu just because people want it. You need to want it. It needs to be easy. It needs to make you money.
Interesting. Well, how do we get over those barriers? And how do we make McDonald's and Carl's Jr. and these other places have those alternatives?
Do you think it's always going to be an alternative, or it's just going to be like...
Or just replace their current thing with that?
I don't know. I mean, that article in the Atlantic about how the manosphere in America has just decided that eating meat ain't that bad, and they're just completely throwing away these ideas of health, and it's worrying. It worries me because in the last 10 years, annual per capita meat in America has risen 28 pounds, the equivalent of 100 chicken breasts. I mean...
Well, what are you doing? We can't be all doom and gloom here. Like, they're winning. Or is this a radio show of like, no, the bad guys are winning and we're just hopeless and scared?
Okay, so, all right, let's talk about solutions then. I think that we need to hijack the manosphere. I think there needs to be people talking about masculinity in more productive ways, and I don't think that we have that in America. We have the likes of Andrew Tate and Joe Rogan saying like killing animals is cool, and you life eats life, and that's how these guys that try to tell you that you're an apex predator while you're waiting in line at McDonald's. You're waiting in line at McDonald's with all the other slobs, and you're just waiting, and you're calling yourself an apex predator. Like that's the narrative that we're up against, and I feel like we should be able to take that on, right?
Yeah. Let's do it. Let's take it on.
We need women to start telling guys that it's not manly to eat animals.
Is that what we need to do? Will that do it? That'll do the trick?
No,
it's manly to protect animals.
It's manly to protect animals. It is. Or I think it's manly to protect the vulnerable. Mm-hmm. I saw this thing today of a photographer in, I don't know, wherever gorillas live, and all these gorillas, he's kind of just standing still because these gorillas come up to him and they're touching him and they're touching his hair, and the silverback comes up and just sits maybe 4 or 5 feet away from this guy, and he's not moving. The dude's not moving. He doesn't want to get killed, and the mother comes up as well, but you could tell that and the little kitty gorillas were kind of like climbing on the guy, and the guy's just not moving, the human. And I'm looking at the silverback, and what is he doing? He's just standing there making sure everything's cool. He's not attacking the dude. He's just protecting everybody, making sure everything's all right. I'm like, that's more manly than Joe Rogan. That gorilla's got more manliness and that got more man in him than Joe Rogan, these guys that kill animals, And gorillas are vegan, mostly. Yeah. Usually.
Remember Oscar Schindler and Schindler's List to Eamon Goth? Power is when we have every justification to kill and we don't. That's true power.
I'll have it be known that you were the one who brought up that historical reference, not me.
Oh, there you go.
Because I'm the one who always compares people to the Nazis. And you just brought it up. But yeah, you're right. Eamon Goth and Schindler, they had a really good, an interesting talk. That was like the core of the film. Mm-hmm. That's true power, is to not exercise it that way. Totally. That's the lesson that we should be learning, but I don't feel like people are learning it. How do I?
Yeah, and it's disturbing when I see even vegans and animal rights activists ignore that fact and say like, oh, let's throw Temple Grandin in the gas chamber and stuff like that.
Oh,
like,
no.
Oh, that's not good. Don't say that.
Yeah, I mean, we made that video this week about about pigs in gas chambers at Smithfield, and now it's like, oh, geez, what's next? People want to attack her. I wasn't even attacking her. I was just saying,
we're not. That article was very flattering to her. It was on it. It
was fair.
It was very fair. But of course, I think, people feel like they have to raise the alarm that, like, Temple Grandin's been hailed as this hero for the animals and welfare. And I think so many people are angry at that because she has basically legitimized the industry and made us all feel okay about the slaughtering of animals. And a lot of people are angry about that and want to point out that she's this really bad person, which I don't think she's somebody who's also a victim of this whole situation too. And she was led to be this person to legitimize it and be this figurehead for the industry to point to and say, we're doing everything Temple Grandin style, so it's fine.
It's hard. I mean, I also heard Temple Grandin talk about how much money she's made for McDonald's, and so that type of language doesn't give her the best. It's hard to see her in the right light sometimes,
What was that? She's talking about how much money she made for McDonald's.
Yeah, because she was saying how much money because of the when you make a more efficient slaughterhouse, you end up making your cost of goods go way down.
That's a lot of her stuff too. Is the meat tastes better?
Yeah, and it's more efficient. You need fewer people, fewer workers will be hurt. Yeah. I want to let everyone know that you have been listening to Vegan World Radio, and we're reaching the end of the hour. We're almost done. Got a few more minutes left, but if you want to hear this again, please visit the archives at kpft.org, and you could tune in again next Monday between 7 and 8. We'll be on again. And I want to thank Blue, our sound engineer. And you can keep listening right here at 90.1 KPFT Pacific Radio in Houston for more progressive programming.
I want to thank the Leguminati for putting us on the FM airwaves.
Indeed. I love being on the FM. I feel like I'm finally made it. I finally made it. Crystal, what are you looking at this week? I mean, you got more stuff going on, or
we have an exciting story coming out that I won't. I mean, spoilers. It'll be really good. You can, if you want to learn more, you can always follow us on Our Honor Vets or my own personal social media account, Dr. Crystal Heath, and we will be announcing that there. But we will also be in New York, April 12th through the 18th. I'll be speaking at Long Island University on the 15th and on Cornell on the 17th. So if you're in those areas, join us.
Hit us up. Yeah. You can send me an email, info@ouronor.org. And we'd love to do in real life stuff. We love meeting vegans and people who are vegan curious. Yeah. And, I did just want to mention, we only got a couple minutes left. I did want to mention one quote that we were talking about, and it was the one from Peter Singer, an ethicist. You probably heard of him. If you're vegan, you've probably heard of that guy, Peter Singer. He's a utilitarian and wrote Animal Liberation and Animal Liberation Now. He said, most people can easily continue doing something they believe is wrong as long as they have plenty of company. And I think about that a lot only because we should, if you're someone who's out there getting in the mix and becoming a participant in this democracy, and you're meeting people who are like-minded in resisting the status quo or challenging authority or questioning it at least, then please try to introduce these new ideas. It is easy to do the wrong thing when you have company who is also willing to do that. So it's up to us to be the company that isn't willing and give those people their courage to follow their consciences.
Yes. I love giving people the courage because it just takes one voice, one dissenting voice for people to go, oh, yeah, they're saying what I believe. I'm going to join them. So
totally. I love it. Well, thanks so much. And we're going to end again with Chris, Sweet Goose, and the song is from Kindness Town, and you could check that out. And thanks, Howard. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
World Radio.
I'm heading down, yes, I'm southward bound to somewhere that I know to be, full of music and sound, and artists all around, painting a better world for you and me, where the fields are green and the air is always clean, and there is no more suffering or sorrow. Now it's finally time to leave these cruel days behind and build a kind of world for our tomorrows. Would you make the smallest of changes if it could save the life of another? Whether skin or feather, we stick together and learn that we are all parts of each other. There's no need for cages because everyone is free, and compassion is the currency here in Kindness Town. We were all born the same, we all know love, we all know pain. Then someone drew a line of separation. There's no difference between the smallest bird, the tallest tree. We are all a part of one creation. Would you make the smallest of changes if it could save the life of another? Whether skin or feather, we stick together and learn that we are all parts of each other. If you want to make a difference, all you need is to believe that we can save the world with empathy here in Kindness Town. I've been dreaming of brighter days where we pave the way together stone by stone. If there's ever a storm ahead, no, you'll never have to face it on your own. Would you make the smallest of changes if it could save the life of another? Whether skin or feather, we stick together and see how we are all parts of each other. If you want to put an end to all this needless cruelty, let your heart become a sanctuary and call it kindness, call it kindness, call it Kindness Town.
Hey, wouldn't it be great if life came with a remote control? You know, you could hit pause when you needed to, or hit rewind. Like that time you knocked down that wasp's nest.
Uh-oh.
Or that time you forgot to roll up your windows in the car wash.
Fantastic.
Yeah, a remote control would have come in handy then. Well, life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome, but prediabetes does. With early diagnosis and a few healthy changes like managing your weight, getting active, stopping smoking, and eating healthier, you can stop prediabetes before it leads to type 2 diabetes. It's easy to learn your risk. Take the 1-minute test today at doihaveprediabetes.org. Life doesn't come with a remote control. Yikes! So you're on your own with the wasps. You have the power to take control of prediabetes. Visit doihaveprediabetes.org today. That's doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its Prediabetes Awareness Partners.
We've all felt left out. And for people who move to this country, that feeling lasts more than a moment. We can change that. Learn how at belongingbeginswithus.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
You are listening to KPFT Houston. I'm Michael Woodson, your producer and host of Living Art. We air on Wednesday night at 7. Tune in. Won't you join us for Art Talk?
Hi, this is Clint Broussard. You're listening to 90.1 FM. It's KPFT Houston. I want to tell you about a brand new show that's happening every Saturday morning from 7 to 8 a.m. Central Time with my good friend Marcus. It's called Country Connections, and it's a great exploration into classic country and vintage sounds that we've heard in this area for many, many years. It's every Saturday morning, 7 to 8 a.m. with Marcus. And if you like that, you should check out our brand new HD3 channel, which is all classic country, 24 hours a day,